We've got some half-price garden lights, SPDs, Arcfault DDs, Trade Sparky MFTs, bold claims, jack chains, uni-frames and fuse box goods. Ideal snicker track suits from a mush and shepherd's bush.
Hi all and welcome back to the podcast on behalf of EGT, Electrician's Guide to Everything, with Nick and Dave in our local drinking hole, the Rusty Backbox. Dave, how you doing?
I'm okay, thank you, Nicholas. Always happy to be down here, down the pub. Nice. Although I'm always distressed over what you're drinking. What on earth is that yellow stuff you're slurping through that straw, mate?
This is it's a grape schlur.
My goodness.
It's top end stuff. It's nice.
Fair enough. Okay.
And what are you drinking?
Well, I'm on the bottle of Blue Nun here, mate.
Where's your glass?
Glass? I don't need a glass.
Oh, God's sake.
I don't think Barry's got any clean glasses behind the bar anyway, mate, so I'll just take it directly from the neck of the thing.
A couple of wet wipes, they'll be fine. What have you been doing today, then?
Well, I'll tell you what I did on Tuesday before I tell you what we did today. We had a job Tuesday to investigate a light not working in a pub car park. Not this pub's car park, they're all vandalised, that's why they don't work. But this was a different drinking establishment. Sunlight not working. Nigel and I went out to take a look. And I'll tell you, Nick, always the way, isn't it? It's lovely sunny weather driving there. While we were working on that light, it was absolutely hammering it down. And you know what it was? The gardener, when he was trimming the ivy, had chopped through the cable. There's a cable coming out of the light. It's going down a metal pole, cable tied to a metal pole, so obviously a proper job. And then it disappears into this outbuilding. The gardener's caught the cable. It's obviously gone with a bang because the cable's now black. And you know what he's done? Wrapped it up with red insulation tape. And it hasn't told anybody. So the light doesn't work, and you've got a metal pole, and you've got this live cable that's improperly repaired, just sort of dangling next to it. And the publican's calling us in because the light's not working. So we find this thing in the rain, get it fixed. We've got our hands are numb and with the cold and wet, so we get in the van. I said to the landlord as we get in the van, you watch the sky clear up 2 minutes after we leave, and no word of a line. 2 minutes later, I was driving down the road, the clouds part and the sun comes out, and I was raging at Nigel about that. See, I'm not a religious man, Nick, but I reckon someone somewhere is having a good laugh at my expense there.
Yeah.
Today, to answer your question, I had a nice warm day in my office catching up on 2020's paperwork because so far behind and invoices haven't done estimates, so I've had a nice warm catch-up day. What about you, Nick? Have you been in the warm today?
Oh, God's sake. Well, that sounds nice to start with, and no. Day started off really well with my unfortunately, since my daughter to be able to walk, I turned around. We played this game where normally from the second step from the top of the stairs, she would go, I'll go on then, big jump, and she'd jump and I'd catch her. And then progressively, as she's got older, I've then got further down the stairs as she does it, which is very unsafe, but quite fun at the same time.
Great idea, Nick.
Yeah, I picked up my iPad from my office and my headphones and I think 3 cups that were sat on my office full of mouldy tea. And as I get halfway down, she goes, Daddy, big one. And she just jumped as I was halfway down the stairs. So I twisted, caught her, iPad went flying, tea went up the wall, which was black. But I proper jarred the side, like pulled all the way down the back, and then to top that off. So instantly I was like, that hurt, thought nothing about it. And then I proceeded to go 4 different lofts today, which was horrible loft ladders, slidey ones, wooden ones, metal ones, none that worked properly, to then go through a maze of a loft, which a few people would have seen on Instagram. And it just got progressively worse. And then, like you said with the ladders, I then got my ladders off on my last job to go and clip a cable from a downlight that no electrician let flap around in the wind. Sunny, blue sky. As soon as I got the ladder out, top of the ladder, it snowed. Then it rained on me. And then I had to put all my stuff back on. And I literally got home and looked at me and I thought, I need to retire soon. That's it. My body's done. It's been awful.
I wonder if it's just electricians who experience that. Does that mean that there's a higher power and it's a plumber?
Yes, or someone else that doesn't like me very much.
Well, that's a list, all right, isn't it, Nick?
Yeah, so there's a few of them there. Yeah, so it's definitely a black book with my name in it on a few people's desks. Anyway. Yeah.
Oh, Nick, you'll never guess who I've just driven into the car park. It's only John Ward off that YouTube.
No, it's no, it's not.
Oh, I'm telling you, Nick, it's John Ward. He's out of his vehicle. Just look at that swagger. That's a man who knows his way around BS 7671, all right.
Dave, there's no way it's JW.
Right, Defo he's going to come in here and say, "Hello, I'm JW, and I'm totally going to smash any of yous at a game of bar billiards." Wouldn't that be great, Nick? Bar billiards with JW himself. I've got to tell you, I'm well up for that.
Dave. That's not John Ward. It's Gary from GSH Electrical, the lecturer from Tresham College, a star of GSH and eFix YouTube channels.
Oh, yeah, well, that explains the BS7671 swagger. Gaz has got it all right. Well, I suppose we can call him over and he can get around him. Gary! Oi, Gary!
Hello, lads. I'm going to the bar. Do you two want another drink?
Yeah, same again. Cheers.
Is that a glass of Blue Nun, David?
I don't need the glass, Gary. The bottle will do.
Oh, right. What about you, Nick?
No, my slur's all right still, mate. Thank you.
Okay.
Nick, you realise that if Gary comes and joins us, we'll have to be on our best behaviour. We can't act up or use bad language when we're sitting with the teacher. We'll get a detention or lines or the cane or something.
Yeah, well, we might start asking me questions on the regs book and embarrass me quite a lot.
I bet he's ordering a stiff drink though, Nick. If I had to spend all day teaching or trying to teach a bunch of 17-year-olds like you, I'd be wanting a drink I can chew on. Like you. Cheeky sod. Yeah, very true. I think whiskey on the rocks. No, it's got to be something a double or a triple and leave out the rocks, eh? Yeah, true. Donald the drunk's having a little chinwag with him there. Crikey, Nick, I hope he doesn't start talking to us about Star Wars. I like Star Wars. I've watched most of the films. I haven't watched the newest one, but there's that aura around Gaz when I met him that it almost feels like he. Oh, what's it called? What's the what do Jedis have? Beans with M, Metachlorians. That's it. I think I could feel like the Metachlorian count on him was very high, so you can tell that he was well into his Star Wars. What on earth is a Metachlorian? You see, I'm a Star Trek man, but what on earth is a Metachlorian? That is. And is he ordering one at the bar as we speak? No. Star Wars, it's if you have a high count, it means you've got the Force, or you could become a Jedi sort of thing. Right. Okay. Yeah. So a lot more involved than Star Trek, mate. Well, it looks like he's getting away from Donald there. Oh, shh! He's coming back.
Here you go, boys.
Cheers, Chief. Do take a seat. Not there. Sorry, Gary. It's just that stool is reserved for old Jack and Frou, his faithful Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. He sometimes joins us for a shot before closing time. Yeah, he's a bit special about that stool. So you can park on this one, then, mate.
Cheers.
Gary, we noticed Donald the drunk spouting off to you at the bar. What was he yapping about?
Yeah, Donald has a swear jar on the bar. He says tonight he feels he's going to get it absolutely filled to the brim because he's raising funds from Dan from DSS to actually wrap the inside of his van to go with the disgusting one he managed to put on the outside. He then went on to talk about CP fuse boxes. I put the lad right. They're not fuse boxes. They're consumer units.
Ah, yes. I'll tell you what, it is handy though that CP fuse box do have fuse box actually written on their board, because when you say to the customer, where's your consumer unit, they normally give you a blank look. But if you say, where's their fuse box, well, there it is.
Done straight away. Yep.
Anyway, the great Gaz right here in our little boozer, hey Nick?
Feel a bit privileged, to be honest, mate.
This is it. Star of the GSH Electrical YouTube channel, star of the eFix YouTube channel, and teaching hero to legions of learners who have passed through his classroom. I fear we're not worthy of your presence, Gaz. Exactly how long have you been teaching for?
I will be in May 19 years. However, I will stumble before the line, David.
Stumble before the line?
Yeah, I won't get to my 19th year. My 19th year would have been in May, and unfortunately, I'm pulling away from mainstream education and moving out of teaching with a month out of 19 years.
Oh my goodness! This is down to your Metachlorians, is it?
Yeah. Oh, yes. If only it was. No. I'm going to take my spoon that I've been holding for Joe for the last couple of years, and we're going to move into a different field. We're going to go off and start the eFix journey on a full-time basis. So yeah. So
you and Joe are what? Are you leaving Tresham College?
We are going to be leaving on Friday, the April the 4th. And saying goodbye to our learners. I'll probably go in a few days the following week, but I'm not officially in. And yes, we're moving away. So, challenging times for me at the moment on an emotional level, I would suggest. Hence the night in the pub, hence the large alcoholic beverage.
It's a shame it's April the 4th and not May the 4th.
Yeah. Would have been classic, wouldn't it? It's...
So, full-time at eFix then? That's the next challenge. It's the next step forward for you.
Yes, yeah, we're gonna go and give it a go. The opportunity is there to obviously branch it out a little bit. So, with a sad heart, I should suggest I'm not too ashamed to admit it, and I'm sure all my learners will chip in as well. I told them last week, and I obviously broke down in front of every group. I had to tell that I was obviously not going to see them through to their final climax of their journey. So it's been a very emotional time, hence the trip to the pub this evening to try and calm the old nerves down before the end of this week.
Crikey, that's an electric shock. I was going to say bombshell, but it's an electric shock, isn't it, to hear that? And your 19 years almost in teaching, has that all been at Tresham?
100%, yeah. I've only ever had 4 jobs. That was my 4th job. I had one in-between job where I got asked to leave, you can imagine. And that was the 3rd job. Yeah, I've been there for Wellingborough campus first, and you two have both met me in the Corby campus. So, yeah, I've done 19 consecutive years almost.
Wow, that's extremely impressive. And also sad to hear, mate. I mean, you have a lot of loved students that you can tell, and you've hit a lot of people. I mean, for me visiting you with Adam and seeing how involved you are with them, the enthusiasm, your overall aura, how it affects the students compared to the colleges that I've seen and been to, it's a massive loss for them, big time. But you need to do things for yourself, and if there's another journey, another path to go down, then I wish you all the best, mate. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's really kind words, gentlemen. So, yeah. So perhaps we're drinking to the future and toasting the past, maybe, or the other way around, whichever we fancy doing.
Yeah, definitely. Who fancies a schlur?
I'll stick with the blue. No, it's already starting to run a bit low here. But yeah, wow, that's a bit of a bombshell, Gaz.
Big news, yeah, big news.
Obviously, you've seen a lot of people come through your classroom over the years, haven't you? You've mentored an awful lot of new people into this industry, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I was forced out of the industry by personal injury to an issue with my lower part of the back. Tried to do something non-electrical for a couple of jobs, never worked out. Looked at the world always as an electrician. I'm sure you two do the same. You'll sit in a waiting room for a doctor's surgery, and you'll be trying to work out how they've wired the fuse connection unit or got the supply round to the TV, etc. Yeah, had a couple of 9 months looking like that, and then stumbled wonderfully into teaching by default. I had both my mother-in-law and my father alive when I got to tell them that allegedly I was going to become a teacher, which was quite proud moments for me.
Yeah, it's a massive career, definitely. I mean, I've got a few friends that are teachers, and it takes a lot out. I mean, it's tough being an electrician, we all know that. But to have people looking at you constantly for guidance and support, and then, you've got to discipline them as well and finding the right level, and then having relationships with them as well. It's a lot on your shoulders that you take home every night as well.
Yeah, it's the pastoral side of it is the one that they don't prepare you for. You sort of go into teaching thinking when you speak everyone will listen, and when everybody listens everyone will learn. But I think you work out by lunchtime on the first day that that's not probably the case. And I've lost 3 learners during my journey as well, people that I'd given awards to or were fathers of children that were very similar ages to mine, and we had relationships with them like that. And to go to 3 funerals of your learners, along with all the successes, all the people that come up to you and say, Gaz, I've got an apprenticeship, Gaz, I'm now fully qualified, Gaz, I'm now working for myself. Yeah, there's 2 sides to every story. There's been some massive highlights, and there will be, I would hope, I've two lads this week have got jobs. Come up to me and got an apprenticeships and full-time courses, so that's fantastic. But yeah, there's massive difficult times as well, so to cope with.
This is it. You can know your subject as well, but still be a poor teacher. I've had a teacher on a course that I attended, proper further education college course, which I was paying quite a lot for. And the guy obviously knew his stuff. He was obviously a very good Sparky, but he was no teacher. So you've got to find someone to have both qualities, and that they know their field and they know how to put that over to audience. It can be a tricky thing, I'd imagine.
I'll probably go down I'm in a different position. I've worked with fantastic people that have allowed me to be myself. Now, you've seen me as myself, David, and you have as well, Nick. There's a different persona that would be the one that is the one off camera. Is slightly different to the one on when we're obviously in front of students and all the rest of it. But to be myself meant that my team was incredible, that I was working within. Never ever ran a team, never been head of the department or anything like that. I've just worked with some incredible people, and I still do, that allow me to be myself. So there's bits that I don't enjoy doing that they always hide me from, that people don't know about. And obviously they allow me to be me I'm not everyone's cup of tea either. I know that, especially early on in courses. I don't smile till Christmas is the quote, and I'm very consistent on timekeeping, attitude, behaviour, and all the rest of it. But once we get to what is effectively this time of the academic year, February, March time, they start to see a little bit of different side of me. And often by the time we get to May, they say to me, well, when we first came, we really liked this person. And they'll say that, and these are people that don't work with me anymore because they'd let them get away with stuff. And then they say, but you actually want us to learn? Well, you were hard on us because you wanted the best for us, and we didn't see it at the start. And I always say to them, I'm not interested in being your friend, your mate, or anything like that. I'm just interested in getting a qualification and making the most of the opportunity you've been given. And often a 16-year-old person will not make the most of the opportunity they've been given if they're given a choice between not making the most of that opportunity. So, it's been fantastic. I will immensely miss it. However, with the eFixed adventure, we went to a college this week. On Tuesday, I was in a college in Nottingham, interacting with the apprentices, the level 3 learners and the full-time learners, and spent a day in that college. The college connections will continue through the eFix Apprentice Hub. So all the questions that I've written over the years are now available on there. There's a download section where some of my notes are on there to help college lecturers, etc. So, and we're also allowing apprentices and adults retraining to attend our eFix live feed events. So there is, when you go on to register for it, it says now electrician, the next tab over, apprentice. We would like to see the young people that are trying to get into our industry to be part of the eFix journey from college connections to the events, which is me and Joe's influence really in on that. We know that not always apprentices are welcomed at events, so we're going to welcome them.
Well, this is the thing that I found weird with when I went to Elex in Coventry. Is it Elex in Coventry or is it CF Live? I can't remember.
It'd be Elex in Coventry.
Yeah, they turned around and when they asked me, because I put me down obviously, and then I put Adam down. And there was no, because apprentices weren't allowed. To my knowledge, it was just fully qualified sparks or.
Well, that must have been CEF Live then, because I know that at Alex, Warwickshire College used to bus their new intake into that, because obviously Alex and Coventry is on in September, which is when the electrical courses start. So they take their new intake of level 2 students and actually bus them over to Alex, and you'd have all these apprentices, not apprentices, level 2 learners all sort of looking wide-eyed around the place, thinking, what on earth is going on here?
Yeah.
But we've got a student on work experience with us this week, and we just asked him, did they take you to Alex last year? And he said, no, they didn't. So it must be something I've stopped doing, which is a shame, because you want to be exposed to the industry, to the tech talks, to the tools, the demonstrations they have at these sort of things. I can understand it perhaps more with CEF, because obviously they're a commercial organisation and they want the people doing the buying to be there, so you can appreciate it a bit more there perhaps. But certainly Alex, they'll let anybody in pretty much. They even let plumbers in these days. They've started calling it the electrician and tool fair and
professional. It's professional builder. You can get professional builder t-shirts or professional electrician ones. So they gave me a builder one to start with. I was like, I don't need to wipe my bum. I'm all right, thanks.
So they've started expanding it out more, of course, to attract the trades.
So just trying to encompass everyone is really the thing, and that keeps my foot hopefully in FE, as obviously I make the difficult transition into what effectively is the real world of electricians, etc. So it's different mindset in it. So I've obviously done some tech talks and some presentations in 2019 in front of the electrical industry. And I was remarkably nervous, considering I'm meant to be almost a professional person to teach after all those years. But it was the thought of standing in front of electricians, equals, in other words, and obviously talking to them when you've been talking to people that obviously were learning their craft. But no, thoroughly enjoyed that. So they've given me now, David, a little opportunity to be a little bit more like myself, the one that we won't probably see tonight on the podcast. I've got Gary's giveaway out of the banter bucket, so I can, and I've got some perfected patter for the banter bucket, so I've got some proper killer moments when I give away some of those prizes.
So what does this mean for the GSH YouTube channel?
Yes, what a question, David. I'd like to keep it going. However, I haven't secured support yet for a facility to allow me to continue to produce videos. I'm in negotiation with a very local college to me, obviously, but we're hit a bit of a dead end at the moment. But what I have been doing is frantically recording video content to release. And I'm at 43 videos as it stands today that are in my back catalogue, of which I think, Nick, there's 4 of them with you in it. So you'll be available to be shown. But technical content. Yeah, trying to get some technical content built up. If I can get to 52 in the next 4 weeks, and then I'm in a position where I can release one every Sunday for a year, where I try and work out how I can do GSH moving forward.
I was going to say, because you're second electrical YouTuber as it stands, second place, aren't you?
Third, and I've got John Ward.
Yeah.
John Ward, Nagy, me, and then I thought Chris would have caught me up by now. Bless him. I'll keep a real close eye on Chris. Does awesome views, PG rated, so he can be played regularly in the workshop, which is good. Yes, David. We do play yours, David, but it is a little tricky. I have to keep an eye on the door. So especially when we've got vomit down ourselves and we're suggesting we've just come out of the shower. It is immensely entertaining, but I'm probably in a different position now. I can't get sacked now, can I? So I'm on Clover. I can play you to my heart's content before I leave. So
oh God, no, don't do that. Play the Nick Bundy ones, for goodness sake.
Yeah. Has he got a channel, have you, Nicky?
Yeah, it's only a little thing on the side.
You managed to get to 20,000 subscribers yet?
No, not yet.
It won't be long.
8th of May is my anniversary.
Anyone listening who hasn't subscribed to Nick, you've got to do so before May so that he can have his little celebration.
Yeah. As soon as I do that, I promise to everyone I'll do a nice Instagram post when I overtake Dave. I'll get a picture of me and Dave together. He can be wearing my Batman hat and I'll wear his McDonald's hat. That's it.
But what is fantastic about it from my point of view, because I'm not playing in the same sandpit as you lot are, because obviously mine are fully connected to the education of learners, is that every single one of the people that we could banter about now and pull legs about have said, when I've rang them, 100% they will attend Tresham College in Corby, give up a day's pay, all the fuel in their van to get there, come down and entertain first and foremost me, and then obviously the learners as well. And that was an absolute privilege to see every time that somebody had took that time to come. So if you look at John Ward, 8-hour round trip.
That's
never
probably why he never comes into this pub.
Well, he perhaps will next week. But to do that and obviously take himself out of his own personal comfort zone and speak all day to my learners, fantastic. We obviously got Luke Witchard was the first one, contacted him. Absolutely, yes, Gary. Didn't know who I was really, I wouldn't imagine at the time, but just wanted the opportunity. We managed to get the original bet was that I'd never get Thomas in. And I'd just like to say for the podcast, what a lovely gentleman he is off camera when you're having quiet chats with him. What an outstandingly nice person he is. And refreshing. He brought his partner with him when he came, so that was really nice. Talking about potentially marriage and dad and all the rest, all those things that you probably don't see him on camera when he's being his YouTube version of himself. And I'd like to think I'm probably the opposite way around. Because you don't know what I'm like, I'm the other way around. The YouTube version of me is not like what I really probably am in real life. And of course, Chris came in. You've come in, Nick, and David's come in, and all the rest of it. So there'll be people I've missed off that list. I've got. Dan's coming back. Dan's back on Wednesday. So as we record this, he's coming back again. Contacted me and he said, I want to come back again. And he doesn't know that I'm leaving. So I said, you can, as long as you go before Easter. He was like, well, I'll come whenever, guys. So he's coming in, on Wednesday. So really looking forward to that. He is one lovely, lovely bloke.
Well, you say that, but I've never spoken to him because we can't get him on this podcast.
I'll have a word with him for you, see if I can pull a bit of stroke. So,
nice one, cheers, guys.
Sorry to interrupt, lads. I'm absolutely busting. Can you tell me where the toilet is?
Yeah, man, just around there, around the bar.
Right to the fruit machine. What a polite chap, Nick. I hope Gaz isn't offended by all the sweary graffiti in the toilet.
What graffiti?
Yeah, some terrible things have been written about you in there, Nick. It's scrawled around the urinals, it's all over the stalls, and there's something truly shocking etched into the paintwork of the hand dryer.
That's weird. Why have you got white paint flecks on your electrician's knife there, mate, on the table? Your knife right next to your permanent marker pen.
Mere coincidence, dear boy. I would certainly never author such vulgarity. Not about you, Nick. Maybe about that James Beck, though.
Yeah, graffiti doesn't surprise me. This pub's is a little bit rough, to be fair.
I noticed. I had to step around the dog's eggs on the doorstep as I came in.
Dog's eggs. Oh, hang on, Gary's coming back.
All right, lads. Nick, there's some terrible graffiti in there.
Yes, moving on though, Gary. Did you happen to notice what poster was above the urinal next to the circus poster?
I noticed that the actual basins themselves had Ideal Standard on it, but the poster itself was Ideal Industry.
Oh, Ideal Industries. Have you seen their RJ45 through connector?
Ah, I have. I've seen it quite a few times, and I actually am going to order one.
Yes, quite a nifty bit of kit, that, isn't it? I don't know if you've seen it, guys. You know, when you're fiddling around trying to terminate an RJ45 and you end up with a miswire or it doesn't quite terminate right, you have to chop the end off and start again. Well, this is one where you can feed the individual wires through the connector and then crimp it.
Yes, and then do you trim off the extended ends, do you? Because it looks fantastic.
Presumably it trims them for you. But
okay, so as you crimp it, it trims as well. That sounds really good.
I've got to get hold of one.
Okay, I would imagine Effie will get that in about another 33 years then, so that'll be landing on the doorstep of a college very shortly.
If we're still using RJ45s in 33 years, then I'll be fairly surprised, to be fair.
Well, there will be an FE, so that's fine.
We'll all have 6G implants in our brains by then. We won't need and wireless power and stuff.
Well, it just shows us how our industry's moving on, and from my point of view, from the previous 19 years and when we're going forward, it's all about keeping FE up to speed, even if they're only half a step behind the electrical industry. I think you were doing a bit of that yourself, Nick, when you went into Adams College. Is that right? You were trying to force them into the 21st century almost?
Yeah, a little bit. It was purely coincidence. Well, obviously, when Adam's at college, he's with me 2 days a week now because he's so far advanced now, because he's been working with me on site with all the practical stuff. I try and do a bit of theory, but I sort of try and leave it up to the lecturer as best as possible because I don't want to teach him the wrong way, should we say. I can teach him my way, but whether or not my way is the right way, theory-wise, because it's been 10 years since I was at college. So him now, obviously you would know this, Gary, from doing, he has, I think it's 10 practical assessments he's got to do, take pictures of and put it on his portfolio.
Absolutely.
He's smashed it. He's already done them because he, putting a backbox into a wall, doing the bending the metal conduit. He's done it all with me so many times that he's just gone, boom, done it. And so that then allows him more day with me because he doesn't need to go in for them days. But he's so far advanced now. He's just literally, to my knowledge, he's sat waiting for the class, his mates to catch up, should we say, which is a bit of a shame. But he's then going around, and I'm giving him a few bits and bobs for him to take in. I'm giving him a few of the ideals the other day to take in, using a few of the loop in, loop out for the switches. So it's really helped him move forward. But when I went in there to check on him, like I've said in the video, that the fuse boards weren't up 8 to 18th, and if there was no screws in it. Every knockout was knocked out, and the lads aren't being given the right equipment, what they would be using on site, real world situations. So the colleges don't have the funds to buy all this new fancy stuff that we're buying and installing. So I just used a bit of YouTube power and bit of influencing and advertising through the companies that I could get the free stuff for, and they would loved it. All of them loved it. The students liked it. The lecturers were, deeply thankful for it all, and obviously the companies that gave them was fantastic as well. And I'm going to be doing it again at some point this year. I'll have to do a YouTube video on it so I can get the free products from the sponsors so they can get their shout out. But I will be going in and I'm going to try and give it a bigger push with some more tools, because then my next thing was to try and get bigger hand tools in there, some newer stuff, because they're still using the old screwdrivers. They're not insulated screwdrivers, all of them. The snips had been cutting screws that weren't cut. Like, there was so many things, and Adam's got this nice new toolkit. He doesn't want to take it into college, he doesn't want to get lost or robbed. But at the same time, he's then going in there using their tools, and he's like, it takes me 4 times as long to strip a piece of cable than it would when I'm on site with you. Yeah. And I was like, but unfortunately, you've got to learn the hard way. So when you come on site, it's the easy way. It's quicker.
I like what you're thinking there, David.
It seems to me that any manufacturer getting their name into the classroom is a way to instill brand loyalty into the next generation of Sparks. So I'm surprised that more of them aren't onto that, because to supply some consumer units, and I appreciate they've got to supply a fair number, but if you've got an intake coming in 1 year, and to supply a range of consumer units for that intake to work on, surely isn't going to cost the manufacturer a huge amount of money. And the same with test equipment as well. I'm sure I'm not the only one whose first tester was a Mega, because that's what I used at college. You know,
Absolutely.
if you're brought in with this sort of stuff, then you recognise the name, you recognise the brand, and when you get out into the world, that's what you want to start using. I'd have thought. So I'm surprised that more manufacturers don't sort of see this as a marketing opportunity. But how do you find it, Gary? Do you find you get donations to the college from manufacturers, or do you have to fight for it? And how much of it is down to you publicly representing Tresham on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, some really good points there, and I want to cover them in reverse almost, go almost back to what Nick was saying. For me, I'm a great believer in doing's only worth 10%. So I've got lots of people that I teach that aren't actually going through the apprenticeship framework, are just on a full-time course. And their practical skills from school are probably not as good as they probably would have been 30 years ago when we had woodwork departments and you actually made something out of clay, etc. So, of course, they come in with limited practical skills, maybe a lot of enthusiasm, and that's all I really need. And I always say to them, you will get better at doing, but if you don't know, which is worth 90%, so do you know the IP rating at the top of the enclosure? Do you know the difference between an AC and an A-type RCD? And these sort of things we did with Adam. Adam stood there with us, didn't he, Adam? Nick. And we did some stuff with that level 1 group, because the knowing bit will probably not be replicated on site. So will the electrician sit down and go through the basic fundamentals of ADS, the difference between exposed and extraneous conductive part and what makes them what they are? Probably not, but they'll get brilliant at installing. So if you leave the college being okay at installing and having a go, you'll improve the 10% that you've got when you get into the real world. I'm not convinced that every electrician will add a lot more to the 90% that I try and give them, which is the knowledge.
Yeah.
So that addresses that first one. Free kit at college. Interesting story there. I'd made 164 YouTube videos without an inch of thinking about leverage. Just my learners will need this, my learners will need that. And I managed to get a rep from Electrum to come in. Nice bloke. Anil came in to see me, and he donated a miniature RCBO in a presentation box to me. Wow. I don't know. I didn't know what to do with myself. I must have shot 4 videos with it, which is obviously what they wanted to do. I didn't realise in hindsight what the game was.
Yeah.
We were so pleased we got this new technology, that we've got a miniature RCBO, and how fantastic was that? And obviously we shot some stuff with it and the rest of it. And we buy all Electrum products. Our consumer units are star breaker because there's no bus bar to lose. You lose the bus bar, the boards. And what they used to do is strap it across line and neutral first, and then across breaker number 1. That was always fun when you turned it on if you weren't got your wits about you. So we have gone on and bought some Wirex ones now, because we found learners were going out into industry and just clipping the breakers onto the DIN rail and ignoring the bus bar because they'd never used one at college. So it didn't work as well as it could have worked with that. And they've supported me from point of view, if I lose screws, yourself looking at the consumer units that you saw at Adams College, that you need the screws. If you've got a decent board and then the manufacturer will give you the screws, I'd happily buy the board. So I'm happy to buy the board if you send me 1,000 screws for the neutral and earth bar, and you send me 1,000 screws to hold the front cover on, because they'll all go in the bin.
Yeah.
And when they've all gone in the bin, your 40 quid consumer unit that you've bought is now junk.
Worthless. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely worthless. So that would be good. Obviously, as I've moved on, I've managed to leverage myself. I never ask. 90% of the time I'll say that. I asked actually for some miniature RCBOs today from one of my good mates who's in the industry, and he said not a problem, but I hate asking for anything. But yeah, I've been very fortunate that people have gifted us stuff, but it took me a long time to work out that actually I was the more powerful person in the conversation. So certain people like me because I hold their product in shot, and they've got like 2.5 million views with me holding a certain item in my hands as I carry out a video. And I never leveraged that worth to help Tresham College as much as I could have done. Maybe moving forward, I'll be a little bit more savvy as I try and help other colleges as we move around the country with the eFix Adventure. I know what they need. So if I can leverage a brand to help a college, I certainly will be.
Yeah.
I want to thank you, actually, Gary, because the first video I saw of yours, you were looking at an AFDD. Do you remember that? You were at a sales counter, and I think it was with Electrium Rep.
Yes.
Because that was the time when AFDDs were the talk. I couldn't find much information about them. I searched YouTube, and that's when I found your channel, where you were talking to the rep about AFDDs. And I put it on Twitter, said to, I think it was Eaton, Electrium, and Schneider, if I remember rightly, saying, anyone got an AFDD that I can play with and put on YouTube? And this was at a time when I had like hardly any subscribers, a couple of hundred or something. And fair play to Electra, we actually sent the guy around with an AFDD to show me it and to talk to me about it. And he also gave it me along with some RCBOs to go with it, and a little star breaker consumer unit to stick it in. So that was interesting. But my FDD video was actually your fault, Gary.
The thing was, though, we both fell into the same trap. So we did the video. You did your video, though. It was brilliant. With the, I always say it wrong. Let's try and get it. Whacan. Have I got that right?
Whacan. Yes, whatever it was.
And you brought in the second version to me that we actually were creating sparks. And when we did our video, I sat on it for months because I was like, I'm missing something here, because they've got to work, because they can't go through product standards and be recognised by all these other numbers associated with them and not work. And then I eventually released our video that we did, and actually put the word spark every time we created what we kept saying was an arc. I put the word spark. Yeah, it's a spark fault detector device. It would have obviously operated straight away. But
that's true with these sort of things. It's the same with SPDs in a way, because you've got AFDDs, you've got SPDs. They're very hard to prove good.
The work, yeah.
It's not like a RCD where you can cause it to trip. Well, I suppose it's the same with MCBs as well, isn't it? Because you don't do any testing of those to prove that they work.
Yeah.
You
most of the time I know when they work is when I accidentally cut through a cable. And
you went to that pub cutting through the cable that I was working on.
Yeah, I was trimming some hedges the other week. Yeah.
And when you try and find the rest of your side cutter blades, when obviously the molten metal's gone everywhere. So it's nice that we had a connection there that I didn't know about. That's really good.
But you were an inspiration to me. That brings us on to another point, actually, which is interesting, because obviously you in the classroom, you're instilling the right way to do things amongst your learners.
Allegedly.
And out in the field, I've heard some people say that people on YouTube are perhaps undermining that to a certain extent, because we're not always showing best practice, and it is difficult, isn't it? And obviously everyone's guilty of it, because you're out on site. And I did this in another video where I was like, I'm going to show safe isolation here, and I'm going to show that I'm doing my testing. And I got to the end of it and I realised I didn't have my GS38 ends on my probes. I thought, oh my goodness. And it's the same with going into that attic and filming all that. It was only when I was doing the edit I thought, I haven't worn a mask in there. Why didn't I wear my mask?
Yeah.
And you forget, or you shortcut it, or your mind is elsewhere. How do you feel as a lecturer trying to promote best practice to your students? Do you feel like the people doing YouTube videos out on the tools are sometimes undermining that, or is it just life that they're showing?
Realistic. So especially with my apprentices, when they'll come in, they're full of their own self-importance, which is fine, because I would have been at 16, 17, 18. I always forgive people their age. So when we get to parents' evening of, say, a full-time class who's maybe not, done all the things that Gary wants them to do, when we get to parents' evening, I never mention any of it. I only mention, obviously, what we've done this year, what we can do next year, and what we want out of the rest of our life, effectively, or do we want an apprenticeship? And the amount of times the learner's sitting there and thinking, he ain't mentioned that I hardly turn up on a Wednesday, or I don't try as hard as I could. I forgive people for being their age, because I was once 16 and I made lots of poor decisions at that time. And it's not the time for it. Parents need to go away thinking positive thoughts and all the rest of it. So you look at the YouTube people, and I think I've done, this might be, I'm deep enough into the podcast, so maybe not so many people get to, I've done things that obviously may have cut the odd corner, may have not been exactly what we needed to see. And I certainly wouldn't have filmed myself doing them. But I do like the fact that we can turn up in a realistic environment. So if you haven't been on site, full-time learners haven't, apprentices have, and feel as if you're on the journey with the person. So you get that sort of understanding of what it's like, because they only want to be an electrician. They've never been one. They just want it. Well, I'm sure there's pretty ladies on Instagram they want as well, and there's millionaire lifestyle and a fancy car that they also want. But at least they can experience the day-to-day of being an electrician to a certain degree.
So I suppose the important point is to recognise when something isn't how it's been taught, and to not do it if you're not comfortable with it. So if your boss is there saying, right, you just go into that attic and pull this cable through, if you're there going, well, where's my PPE? If they're not happy to do that without the right protection, that's perhaps the main thing. Everyone's got to take their own risk assessments at the end of the day, I suppose, haven't they? And decide, well, am I happy to do this?
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, this is what it's like in the real world. What's the real situations? Nothing's ever straightforward. It never is. And when there is, when it is straightforward, something's going to be cocked up there later on down the line. But as long as you're showing stuff, doesn't matter if it's not to the T with, let's say, how you should be doing stuff in college. As long as you're not showing someone how to do something dangerously, I think we're all right. But when it's off the cuff and you can look at something and go, yeah, that's a really bad idea. If someone copies this, then they're going to get hurt if they do it wrong. Then yeah, but I think all of us that have a good public eye sort of thing, I think we're all doing it quite hands-on and responsibly. At the same time, like other people say, you need to use your common sense. If you see someone doing something dangerous and you know it's dangerous, don't copy them.
No. The only thing that I struggle with as well, and it's not a slur at you two, because obviously wonderful to have me on tonight, and it's great to bump into you in this pub. But it's when people say they use it to help promote their business, and then you think, I've heard some absolutely awful words being spoken to somebody's house. I don't see how, personally, you could probably say to them, watch one of my YouTube videos. I'll stand in the garden and say, oh, look, the cat's done this mess and I've just trod in this and I can't get this cable through this wall because it's really difficult, or words to that effect. You can imagine the words to replace it.
Yeah.
I always think probably isn't at that stage. We've perhaps gone away from the marketing tool and maybe we've now become a YouTubing tool, which is slightly different. And I think you almost hinted at that at the start, David, because one of my learners found your video on insulation resistance, I think with your Matrel tester, where you were pouring water on it and all sorts of stuff, and he come rushing into me and he goes, you must watch this bloke, he's brilliant. So maybe that was the sort of things that I got out of it, really, a little bit.
That was in my polite days. These days, it wouldn't be water these days, I'll be very honest.
Yeah.
Obviously, things like YouTube have moved on very quickly over the past few years. Obviously, John Ward was perhaps one of the first producing UK electrical videos.
You missed a word out there, David. We have to say the legend that is John Ward.
Yes,
is
indeed.
Amazing person.
He's just got his plaque through as well, hasn't he? 100,000 subscriber plaque.
But he got 12,000 more before it arrived.
Yeah, obviously it's made and then posted to you from America.
Yeah, to get 12,000 more in that time is unbelievable. When you think how long it would have took him to get his first 12,000, and then to get to 100,000, springboard it.
Yeah.
Every channel hits that trampoline moment. I got to 1,000 after a long time, and actually 1 month to the day, I got to 2.
Yeah.
So it took me 8 months to get to 1,000, and then 1 more month to get to 2. So you just hit that moment, don't you, where you pick up a little bit of traction on YouTube's algorithm, and you're in. Yeah. I think, what's the guy in Scotland? Is it Big Clive? Is that a person?
He's loads now, isn't he?
Yeah, and when you watch his stuff, he's got a certain charisma about the way he speaks, a certain way he moves his hands, and he's very knowledgeable, especially on electronics. He's got that space. He got there early and he got that space.
Well, this is the point I was going to make, is that those who got an early start are obviously rocketing on. And in just the last few years, the amount of just plain ordinary sparks, POS, I think that's what that stands for, are now creating these videos. But obviously, where do you see that going? Because the kids coming out of the classrooms now, this is their technology. This is sort of their generation. Do you think that there's going to be this explosion and this massive increase in people making this kind of content, and that perhaps the old boys are going to get lost in the noise, or the pretty boys will take over? No offence, Nick, because you'll be old in a couple of years and nobody want to watch you anymore. But the next Nick Bundy that comes along, that wears a better Batman hat and
a Superman hat,
rocks his vest a little bit.
I think the entrenched big camp that we've talked about, those top people, of which obviously are in that list, it'd be quite difficult to penetrate that list. It's almost like the same 6 teams going for the 4 Champions League places. Unfortunately for people coming into it, people who are trying to climb that ladder, find it a little bit more difficult to get a little bit of traction. Now, my fortunate position, and I'd like it not to be my fortunate position, I'd like everybody to jump in and help out training in the UK, is that I'm in a swimming pool of 1. So it's quite easy to do a few lengths when you're pretty much the only college lecturer, along with the team at obviously Tresham College with Marcus and with Joe, of course. Big Matt, Big Sexy on site. We've got our constant content of videos every single week coming out. It's quite difficult to penetrate our market, because you think to yourself, I'll do a video on, and God forbid people would pick maybe science and principles, because obviously Joe is the master of that subject. and you think to yourself, well, I can't take his water. And then you think, well, you can take mine because I'm a spoon holder. I ask everybody else what we're doing, which is my new thing now. The thinking behind that's quite funny, though, because when me and Joe first came back, so I'd worked with Joe before and I got him back to come and work with me. And I promised him everything would be different apart from what the college would offer you, which would be the same FE experience that you always have. But I said everything else I can do would be different. So we'd gone to award ceremonies, we've been wined and dined, and we've had a great laugh. So we've had some fantastic moments. But the first video we shot, I did the intro, my channel, GSH, here we go, intro, this is it, and I threw him no bone. I'd done everything you needed to know about the subject and then threw him, so what's that then, Joe? And he went, well, it's a unicorn. And I looked at him, we just started laughing. He said, you just said everything it was. I was like, oh, right, okay. So then we had to work out how we're going to do this. So subliminally, we did, well, hang on a minute. One of us has to hold a spoon. I'm happy to hold the spoon to him. You know, he's an amazing genius. So, of course, I have to do what is this fuse wire, Joe? You know, it's a piece of copper. It'll melt. And really? You sort of have to be the other one. If you're going to do two of you, you both can't be experts because... you just end up top trumping each other. So I've gone lovingly known as the spoon holder. I've got a new guy.
Your bottom trump.
Yeah. I've got a new guy at Tresham coming in, brand new to teaching now. I shot a video with him. He's desperate to do a video together. Brilliant, lovely. Emilio, me and him did a video, and I went, well, so I see your circuit here. You've managed to wire a light from a socket. How have you managed to do that? You think I did 6 months off 30 years of being in the electrical industry. So, when I turn 46, we'll be done 30 years, and I'm asking somebody how you managed to get a socket and a light to be on the same circuit. So it's just that spoon holder moment.
Well, this is the thing with you. Like you've managed to progress from yourself to do it with other people. You can continue. You've changed the channel, but you've kept the interest of everyone. I think that's one of the difficult things. As I've spoken to quite a few of my friends and family about it. If you're going to carry on with YouTube, you're just going to be an electrical YouTuber. And I said, well, I would like to do other things, but unfortunately, I don't have the lavish lifestyle of these vloggers who just vlog their life, who have hundreds of thousands of pounds, Ferraris, and they do. Do you know what I mean? It's just my life's very boring. It's very normal. I've got kids and we don't do a lot because, kids take up a lot of time and I spend a lot of time with them. And you don't want to walk around recording them going to the park. It's one of them things, but you've given the chance you can change, you can adapt. And this is the thing what I spoke to you about. Come later on in the year, Adam's going to be given the GoPro. He's going to then go and do his own thing to a degree. He's going to go and, whether or not he creates his own channel or he has his own section or he can start asking me questions or I can change things a bit. But going back to what you said earlier, like about people joining it now and flooding the market with it, I remember you saying to me that I pretty much got in at the threshold of it, that being it then, when we were at college.
For me, you have, because it's pretty established now. And if you go and search for in that area of which we've talked about, the YouTube algorithm's only going to throw you certain people.
Yeah.
You've already gained your space, you gained traction. I'm not blowing smoke towards you, Nick, but you're pretty easy on the eye. You're a big lad. You're funny. You're entertaining. So you obviously you covered all of those. Whereas other people coming in can find the camera difficult, can't they? Yeah. You put a camera on, you might be the most knowledgeable person in the world, but if you can't add the reason to stay beyond 60 seconds, if you haven't got a reason, if you haven't got that catch. Whereas I'd like to think the only reason you're watching me, because I'm not me, as Joe always says on camera, you're never yourself, Gaz, is the fact that you have to. So if you want to know how to do this test or terminate this cable, you've got to stay for the journey. Whereas when I click on the videos in front of me, so whether it be David's or yours, Nick, I've got to stay on because I want to stay on.
Yeah.
And that's the trick. Can you have the charisma to hold people on? And David, your normal opening 60 to 90 seconds says to me, I'm settling in for the evening. So normally...
it's recently a few of yours videos when I think you've released them on a stupid o'clock on a Saturday morning or whatnot. And I've got up before the kids and I'm doing some paperwork and I look and go, Davis just drops an hour and 15-minute video. Yes! And I could just sit there on my iPad and read my paperwork going, this is awesome. I mean, because I've had it a few times where people have said, we prefer short video, we prefer 15-minute videos, so we can just watch it on a lunch break. But then equally, some people like longer videos. Like, I love Dave's longer videos. I think they're fantastic. It's great. Even if I'm not sat there watching it word for word, it's on in the background. and I'm watching it, and then while I'm doing my own bit. But it's finding the fine line of, are you doing this just for yourself? Are you doing this for your business? Are you doing this to gain subscribers? Are you doing it to get money from it? Like, I've asked a few people have asked me before that. I get a lot of people messaging me saying I want to do my own channel, and I was like, what are you doing it for?
Yeah, good question.
Money. If you
Good luck with that.
if you're going after it for the money, then you're in it for the wrong reason instantly. To start with, I used to reply to pretty much most of my comments. I don't get time anymore. I don't. And as much as I want to say to people, oh, I'll answer every single question, I just don't have time. I don't. It's not like Dave, you know, where you can play on Fortnite. He'll just pause Fortnite for a bit and go, oh, I'll reply to people. I'll open a beer.
You can't pause Fortnite. Don't even joke about it.
Okay. Not being a gamer myself, absolutely clueless.
Yeah.
But that's a really good point. If somebody had told me, just over 3 years now, if somebody had told me where I was going to be after 3 years, and the amount of subscribers, the amount of views, etc., I'd never have got there.
Yeah.
Because I would have gone, yeah, but in 3 years I'm going to have this, and not concentrated on next week we're doing plastic conduit. I need to bend the plastic conduit, because if Johnny doesn't turn up, he can watch the video, however terrible it is, and he won't have lost out. And that's always been my focus. Here's a video because my learners can get it. Actually, I dropped the ball with my channel by being, like we are tonight, more known within the social media climate, because I spent too much time perhaps in the last 12 months producing content that I wanted. So I quite like to talk to these people that are in the industry. I like to have a ramble with them. I like to do Q&As with them. But if you look at my analytics, my audience wants how to test for, how to do this, how to connect to steel or armoured. Testing, fault finding, connecting armoureds and all the rest of it. But I was more consumed with my journey on the last 12 months. And like I said, I'm building a video content library to take out with me. And I'm trying to focus on how many cables can you get in a conduit? How do you do the 2-plate method, which I haven't covered? How do you fit an LED downlighter with X, Y, and Z? Because that's what my channel really wants. With the greatest respect, it doesn't want a person walking through the door, me shaking their hands and having a bacon roll with them. Yeah, it's not what the channel is. I got a bit carried away with myself, I would suggest, in the latter year.
Yeah, but you go to it again. What do you want to achieve with your channel? Is it for your own personal benefit? Is it just for you? It's a hobby. I enjoy myself from it, and whatever perks I get from it is an absolute bonus. That's where I'm at right now. That's what I saw. I mean, I'm really enjoying doing it. I don't play any sports anymore. I've lost pretty much all my hobbies. This has become a hobby. It's an amazing world that we're in now.
But the best channels are always going to be those where someone is talking with passion and enthusiasm for their subject, don't they?
I love my job, and I know Dave likes his job. I enjoy it. I enjoy going to work. When you enjoy the work, you get better results, and that's what I try and put across in videos. I genuinely enjoy it. You do get the old crap day. That's just like, oh god, I can't wait for it to be over. But I enjoy it. I think it's a good job that we're in.
And 3 years ago and 2 months, I didn't have a Facebook page. I didn't know what YouTube was. I certainly wouldn't. I was never on social media at all. My phone was a phone. That's all it was. And now maybe I need to pare that back a bit, because when I come in after a very late night, I have to catch up with, like you said, your YouTube comments, you have to catch up with your Instagram page, you have to look at your Facebook page, have you posted recently and all the rest of it. I do think there is a compromise within there. I think you can get a bit carried away with the amount of time you spend on social media. But as always, the channel's only ever been to actually for learners, for my learners. If my learners watch it, great. Historically, my learners don't watch me because they see me all the time, so they wouldn't watch me, which is fine. But you tend to find that people maybe at other educational establishments that maybe are struggling, maybe they're struggling to find a consistent lecturer and all the rest of it, they come to you and they say some very nice things. And even though maybe some of the comments are heartbreaking, but you think at least I might have helped them a very small bit in moving forward. Yeah. And if they continue the passionate journey on to becoming perhaps an electrician, then, that's good. So that's all good. Gents, I don't want to be, just impolite here, but who's over there in the corner selling something out of a suitcase?
Jimmy the Thief, tax-free goods to electrical trade.
I had a look when I came in, and he's flogging electrical gear tonight. But to be honest, I've seen better prices on tradesparky.com, so I don't think he'll be doing much business here this week.
You've used tradesparky.com, haven't you, Dave?
Yes, I have, mate. I think it's next day delivery if ordered before 2 p.m. So if you haven't used them, give them a look, tradesparky.com. Anyway, guys, moving on to back to where you started teaching. You've been in it for 19 years, you say, so presumably 16th edition was in full force when you started, so we're talking generally split load boards, non-RCD protected ways on things like lighting, perhaps cookers, water heaters, RCDs on, what were they on, just sockets only. You've obviously seen some changes throughout the years. What can you tell us about how the industry has sort of moved on in that time?
Well, I'm alarmed to think that we're not doing the 16th edition now. So is it, this is breaking news to me. So if there's another edition popped out, I need to check that out, because I'm still looking at EBADs, earth potential bonding and automatic disconnection. I'm looking at direct and indirect contact. I'm looking at, does the metal bath need earthing? Does the metal window frame need earthing? And do I need an equipotential zone within that bathroom? They're the sort of things I'm looking at. I'm also looking at, is it a flexible cable? Is it a flexible cord? What's the difference between the two? Under the 16th edition, I think up to 4 millimeters squared was a flexible cord. Anything over 4 mil was a flexible cable. And you're telling me now, breaking news on this channel, that we are no longer covered by the 16th edition, David?
I should hope not, because Nick was only 8 when 16th edition was when you started training in 16th edition.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Are you much older than 8 now?
Yeah, I still can't grow a beard. I still look 8 years old most of the time.
Oh, fantastic. The wonderful 16th edition, I used to love, direct and indirect contact. Can we make it more confusing by being, basic and fault protection, etc.? Yeah, I've seen a lot of changes. The most difficult thing is that the running theme almost through this is colleges keeping up with those changes. I used to say, can we stay just behind the curve? I think on the back of my YouTube channel, I've managed to stay just on the curve. So my college has got arc fault detection devices. We had SPDs, and you've seen stuff that we've done. I've made a real conscious effort to make sure that I stay on it. Premature collapse in the wiring system is massive to me. I do a really long spiel over numbers of lessons that those, and as far as I'm aware, they're all gentlemen that perished in a fire caught entangled in a wiring system is unacceptable. So, I've always tried, especially in the last 3 years, to keep up with it. And it was almost a bolt from the blue when a new member of staff come and sort of suggested to me that I might have thought I was reasonable at doing my job, but actually I'd missed my industry, had moved on. So I went to a trade show effectively, and I went to the first stand, and the gentleman said to me, this light switch doesn't need any cables. And this was like 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, wow, how's it working? He said, it's got a battery in it. I said, that's amazing. He said, no more switch drops. It's got a battery. I went to the next stand, and the bloke went, this switch here doesn't need any cables. I thought, I know where this is going. He said, it doesn't need any batteries. I said, oh, right, okay. He said, it works on kinetic energy. And I went, yeah. I said, I've just been to the bloke next door. And I said, he's so out of date with those batteries that go flat. And as I walked away, I said to myself, I need to keep up with my industry, because I've actually only kept up with FE. So that was a real bolt out of the blue for me to sort of say I'd actually become what my peers were, actually entrenched in FE, along with two-way lighting circuits and, the latest, this, that and the other, but actually hadn't kept up with what my industry had done. And it's so super exciting now with smart technology and EV, etc. So it's a good place to be.
My God, not for me. I don't want anything to do with smart technology. I'll leave that for the likes of Nick.
Yeah, I'm getting into it slowly. Obviously, I've done the kinetic switches recently, and absolutely in love with them, honestly.
Yeah,
and I said that for my video, I will, from now on, with rewires of any sort, will be priced both ways. Obviously, I prefer the kinetic way, purely the fact it's less effort for me, but I will lose money on the job. It all depends what you're at. But then on top of it, you've got the smart thermostats, you've got the cameras, you've got the smart lighting. There's so many different things now that to learn, which I think they need to start bringing that on into colleges straight away. The young learners can learn that off the bat. They can go straight into it, and it'll be like, so even me, I still don't understand it. Me, Dave, and all the other YouTube spark, we'll end up being on the back burner, and they'll be forefront of the industry with all the smart tech that they learn straight away, and we're like, how's this work?
You say that, I'm not convinced. The trouble with smart tech is it chops and changes so often. And even if you stick to a brand, they'll move the goalposts on it, and they'll say that, we don't support light switch 1.0 anymore. You've got to upgrade to light switch 2.0, and they'll change the user interface. So even if you're trying to present it from a training point of view and say, this is the menu structure you need to go through, they'll change it next week, and it'll be completely different, and the icons will be different, and everything will work differently. And for me, I prefer to have a cable from A to B. That as long as no one drills through it, that's always going to work. It's going to work for the next 40, 50 years.
I'm a bit crushed there, David, that you haven't been watching my eFix YouTube channel, because we did the internet protocols changing. Google, Amazon, and Apple have all come together to do one protocol. So eventually, they reckon in 2020, you'll be able to buy an enabled light fitting thermostat, camera, hose pipe, whatever it is, and go, hey, Google, turn on my lights. It'll be paired to those one protocol. The same light fitting could be installed, and you could say, Siri, you can say Alexa, and they will turn those devices on. So actually, it's getting what I call 3-bed semi-friendly. Once you can put it into a 3-bed semi and it's easy to install, everybody's going to have it. And they've promised that they're going to do that. So, yeah, the Quinetics I love. I think that's smart without being smart. Yeah. I think that's stealth smart, because you rip out a kitchen, you got a whole new kitchen in, chipboard floors above, fine. And all of a sudden they say, well, we want LED strip, top, bottom, and some, say, spots in the actual kickboards. You're thinking, I can't get back to the switch without any grief. You take a socket outlet, you come into a fuse connection unit, you put a 1mm cable onto the top of the kitchen unit, you put a Quinetic receiver there, you change the switch for a grid, you insert the grid one, bang, you're turning the lights on and off. A little bit of smart technology nobody knows about. I love the key fob version, outside lights. Imagine your children from 100 metres away can turn the outside lights on in your house from a key fob. I just think it's super cool.
Clever.
Very clever. Very easy. Very easy.
Again, I'm going to have to be the voice of reason here, guys, and say I completely disagree with you. I think it's a security nightmare. I think it's too reliant on your internet connectivity always being good. And you can wire out a house like this, and the moment that there's some kind of problem with the internet or something like that, or with the router, that place is screwed. So maybe it is the future. I don't know. If it is, I will quite happily bow out and go and pack boxes for tradesparky.com for a living and post them out.
Post out fuse boxes. Just a quick one on them Quinetic ones. You don't have to have the Wi-Fi enabled ones. It's those ones that aren't. It's just simplistic itself. Simplistic itself. You just got, up to 10 switches, no cables, etc. Always use the example, your child wants to change their bedroom round, so they want everything in a different place. So the switch is now no longer near their bed. All you got to make sure is you've got a receiver before the light fitting. You can give them 10 switches scattered around their bedroom, handheld or wall mounted. You'll still be able to turn the light fitting on and off, and it doesn't work on the Wi-Fi. It works on a radio frequency, and the pairing is unbelievably easy, and it makes
so simple. So I think the biggest thing that I found with it is the two-way switching for stairs. Oh, what a dream! Because me and Adam have done it a few times where I've showed him. Obviously, you've got your two-way, then you've got your intermediate, then you've got a 5. We've done a 5-way intermediate before, and obviously you get to an intermediate, it's then duplicated throughout. Even though you say that when you get to it, and even I a few times, when it's been a month or two, Dave, when you've not done it. Bit of two-way or intermediate, you look at it and you go, I know how to do this. There's lots of cables there. Obviously you can just run through and do it again, but with all you got to do is press a button and click the switch, and and then you just stick it to someone's. But like I did with the grid systems, you can replace the original light switches
with grid. That's what you do.
So
it's just and I've taken that to Nottingham College. When I went to that college with the eFix, I take my Quinetic board that Dan from DSS, give me a shout out at minute 64. No one's going to be at this point. Dan brought it in and built it for us when he was with us. But even the lecturers go, wow, that's really simple. And I say, well, let's unpair it. And I always unpair it and then repair it in front of them. And it's like 3 clicks and you're back paired. And they're like, well, that's really easy. I said, we don't tell anyone, because that's how we earn our real money. You don't want to go around telling everybody it's a simplistic solution to a major problem.
Well, that's the point I was about to raise. Sorry to interrupt, guys. Isn't it de-skilling the industry? Because you're saying, well, you don't need all this hard wiring anymore. You can put in these devices and there you go, it's all sorted out, which is great to a certain point. But when it stops working,
it doesn't though, David, it doesn't.
Doesn't it? It sounds great, but when we're talking about these sort of smart switches and things, yes, you can put them in now and they'll work great. They'll work great. You might next year they'll still work great. In 5 years' time, are they still going to work great? Or is there going to be some kind of security flaw or something been discovered? In 10 years' time, if I put in wiring for hardwired switches, I know that's good for 50 plus years. How good is a little mini computer in a light switch for continued use over a long term?
But you're talking about hub-based system. These are not hub-based systems. These are just Wi-Fi receivers, effectively. They do Bluetooth versions in different manufacturers. I think a Notion do a Bluetooth one.
Oh yeah, I've used wireless switches before, and they have their place. But what concerns me is the fact that they're not necessarily bulletproof, and they're not necessarily completely safe, and they are reliant on certain
aspects. Yeah, and I get where you're coming from.
And when it goes wrong, it's going to be difficult
and
to
expensive
support.
Yeah.
And that's what worries me, is the support, is people coming along going, well, that wireless switching thing that I can control from my iPhone, it's not working anymore. And you go, well, what's changed? Well, I've upgraded my iPhone. Well, now you want me to be an IT person. I'm not, I don't want to get into why your iPhone's talking to your switches.
But that's where I'm one level down from that. I'm at 3-bed semi-smart. I'm at the wireless switch that you can have on your patio furniture, that when you click it just sends kinetic energy. So it's not. So I'm with you on that, David. I've got a smart technology wall at Tresham, and it's fallen over. It just doesn't work. Every time I bring my Kinetic board out, which doesn't need the Wi-Fi, it always works. I'll repair it, it always works. I think you're 100% correct there. Supporting it moving forward is difficult, and hence, if Google, Amazon and Apple go to one protocol where you can do it from your voice-activated device, it removes the hubs. That's the problem. You could have 5 or 6 hubs in a house, hose pipe, lighting, smart thermostat. All of a sudden it starts becoming a bit too many hubs. The hub's the way into your, obviously, security risk, in my opinion. So I agree with you totally there.
Basically, I believe it when I see it, and I've got this stuff myself. I'm not a complete Luddite. I have the various bits of smart tech myself, and it doesn't work very well, and it frustrates me. I would put it in for a customer.
I have this with my Nest thermostat at home. Smart learning thermostat. I've had it a couple of years. Loved it to start with, but then it's meant to regulate when you come in and become smart and learn when to turn it on and off. And it's when my other half, Sophie, was heavily pregnant with my daughter, and it was, so what are we on, 2017, and it was 28 degrees outside, and she was sat inside boiling, and I said, it is hot in here, because our kitchen's normally nice and cool. I went and checked the thermostat, the heating was on. I thought, well, why the hell is the heating on? And it was still registered for some reason that it was the same time when we come home from school in the winter, it was still kicking on. I ended up having to reset the thing 4 times, like just get rid of the system, start again. Oh, it was driving me insane.
Well, we had a little old lady we got called to last year who had one of these Nest thermostats. Some idiot had put it in. They put it in her hallway, and because she spends her evening sort of sat in her living room watching Coronation Street or whatever, she's not walking past the thing, and it was just turning the heating off. And she's saying, it's too clever for me. I don't want it. I don't understand it. It's the same with all this Lot 20 stuff that's coming for storage heaters. They're too complicated. You want to take out an old storage heater for some little old couple who used to have the input and output dials, which were basically mechanical switches. And the things these days, they've got HAL 9000 brains, and they've got completely their own mind about when they turn on and off, and they're very difficult to support, very difficult to explain to someone who's 85 how to actually use the damn thing. Yeah, and it's annoying and it's frustrating.
Yeah, I had it the other day. I had a customer, old lady. It was I shouldn't really call it a caravan park, so the static homes, and she'd had storage heaters from when she'd bought the thing, and it was packing in, so she went to, I think it was CAF. She got it. I turned up. She said, "Can you replace that?" Opened it up, hardwired in this Economy 7. Oh, fantastic. I went to then try and turn it on or test it. I couldn't do it, and apparently the new storage heaters that have come out, they have to have a permanent supply and an Economy 7 supply.
Yeah, that's because they've got these electronic brains.
It just defeats the object of replacing it for a storage heat if you then got another supply.
This is exactly the problem, Nick. This is the problem we're having, is that, like you say, they're supposed to just click on stupidly and heat the place up. But now that they're supposed to be monitored 24/7, they need a permanent supply as well. And their little brains tell it when to switch on and off. I've got one myself. I've got one in the hall. Like I say, they're too complicated to retrofit into most older people's homes because they don't know how to control them. And even I don't know how to control mine.
No clue.
But what worries me is that I once said in front of a lot of people, you will not be able to use your phone to watch the telly and order your shopping on it. It's ridiculous. And now I think, as I sit here looking at my phone doing a podcast with you, that I don't want to continue to make those mistakes. So when people say to me, everybody's going to be driving a battery car by 2050, I now go, yeah, there will be, definitely. Yeah, because I'm not going to make that mistake again. Because I said, you wouldn't be able to watch the TV on your phone. So, of course, it's embracing like new technology, but I'm equally as fearful of you as it falling over. But I think there's a middle ground, as we discussed earlier. I think there's some easy smart that isn't necessarily Wi-Fi enabled that will get over a lot of problems for the electrician and obviously make their life a little bit easier.
Well, hopefully, if the likes of Apple, Google, and who was the other one?
Amazon,
if they are joining forces to create a common protocol, and there are already common protocols out there, so I don't know why they can't just use them. But hopefully,
I think Zigbee could be the one, but it'll be one of them. Yeah,
right,
one of them.
I mean, hopefully that will help things, because it really doesn't help that
they're confusing everything.
Yeah, you're buying one item and you're sort of tying yourself in to that ecosystem when there are other ones that you, as a consumer, you still want to use, because none of us just commit to just one ecosystem. We're not all, okay, I'm going to buy everything Apple, okay, I'm going to buy everything Amazon. We mix and match as we need to, and everybody needs to sort of live their lives.
And the original problem being, if the gentleman that invented the internet had kept it to himself, you would have had potentially the Virgin internet, you'd have had the BT internet, the Sky internet, wouldn't you? Because there wouldn't have been just that one internet. He was very generous in giving away the ability for everybody to use that shared platform. But let's hope those big three have discovered that to move forward, we need to be singing from the same hymn sheet, I would suggest.
One last question about your time in the classroom, Gaz.
Yeah, cool.
Looking at my YouTube metrics, as I don't often do, I find that it's like 99% male. How regular has it been that you've had female learners in the classroom, and has the frequency been increasing, and how well do they face the challenge of breaking into a male-dominated blue-collar industry? Is it something that you see much of?
Yeah, great. That is a really good question. Thank you for that one, David. Yeah, the massive advocate of everybody to be in the electrical industry. So people that have found school challenging, whether it be male or female, people that maybe have found life just generally challenging. I don't have any issues. So I've made that a thing since day one, that we're all different, but we're all in it together. It's an individual sport, completing a course with a team ethic, that we're going to go over the line together, getting that qualification. And that encompasses, obviously, females being very accepted in the college and workplace. And I wouldn't have it any other way. The final year that I did, which was my 14th year as I come out of Wellingborough, I had 3 female learners on the same course, which was excellent. And when they finished their level 2 full-time course, they actually followed me over to Corby and actually gained their level 3. It's only since I moved demographically and by distance of about another 30 miles from my house that I found a slight difference. When I was in Wellingborough, every year I had a female learner, at least one, which was great. When I moved over to Corby, which had a lot more choice, so there was a lot more what you would class as maybe softer subject areas, things like leisure and tourism, maybe things like legal courses, hair and beauty, etc., that tend to be predominantly 50% split male and female, that we stopped having any female learners at all. However, this year we have now gone back again, and we've now got female learners on our evening programme. I think it's difficult all round. Always got something extra to prove. We've got a female apprentice this year who's fantastic, one of the top 3 in her class. Yeah, I certainly think with the people I've worked with for 19 years, you're 100% accepted. No banter towards you, no ill treatment of you because you're not white, you're not blonde-haired, you're not male, etc. All the stereotypes we have. I've got people in my family that have got disabilities. I've had issues within my own family about those sort of things as well. And I say to everyone on day one that when we come into the environment that I'm in control of, that we're all in it together and we don't have any of that. And that's great. But active encouragement of female learners from marketing point of view is probably quite weak. However, when I do get a female learner, and I have all but 2 years of my teaching career had female learners, there's been no issues at all, and they're not singled out as being different because somebody with blonde hair is different than somebody with brown hair. So we just soldier on together. I'm pretty good at that, and it's one of the things that I would class myself in my teaching career that I've been excellent at, is that, yeah, we're in it together. We're not in it for yourself.
That's great to hear. It really is. I mean, when I went to to Adams College, I think there's 2 female learners there, and they were just as involved as the lads were when they're coming over to have a chat with me. And it was great to see, because there was none on when I started, there was none on my course at all. There's 42 lads. I think as time goes on and people, it's shared more with social media, because it lacked greatly when I did it. I mean, Dave, what year did you qualify?
I started the business in 2012, which was when I did the short courses. So, and then I went to Warwickshire College after that. But none of the courses I've been on, I've ever had a female learner, whether it's someone sort of out of school or a more mature learner. So I know of one female electrician in my area, but I think she's just packed it in. Actually, she's been going for 20 years, but I think she's probably just retired or something. Just at this point, so I can't see her active anymore.
I don't need to pull it down to one thing about anyone to distinguish them within the group. So being a female walking into my classroom just makes no difference to me. You're just another person in the room, than anyone else. And I never single anyone out on anything like that.
There's no reason to, is there? I mean, everyone's just
absolutely not.
So everyone's got their positives and their negatives, and
absolutely not.
I say we're just people in a room.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And if you can start off, and I start that on week 1. I mean, we're in it together, and I've pretty much gone through the entire teaching career with no issues with groups. And if I find there's an issue, the issue goes away. We solve that issue, because we all struggle with something at some point in our life. You don't want to go into a room where other people will highlight your struggles.
So we're all here for a common purpose, and we're all here to be electricians. You're part of a group, so why not act like it? It's what I don't understand. So.
Time, gentlemen, please.
Really? Already? That's because we got here late tonight.
Don't worry, Gaz. Me and David are quite tight with Barry. He's the barman. He can get one of his legendary lock-ins.
Yes, I am up for that, Nick Oldson. Hey, Barry!
What do you idiots want?
We thought you might be having a lock-in tonight.
I am, but you and your lovely lady friend, Miss Bundy, ain't invited. Now, while that may be a shock to you, I'll leave you with this piece of sage advice. If you come into my establishment and act like, shall we say, a bit of a Burke, you will definitely never get to stay for a lock-in. Furthermore, should I have to remind you of this fact just one more time, I'll be forced to find a new place for this antique, expertly crafted Canadian maple baseball bat that currently resides behind my bar, which would ultimately ruin the linseed oil finish of said bat. Now, that would upset me, and you wouldn't like to upset me, would you?
Oh, man.
Bit harsh.
Right. Now, your Ponzi mate, however, he can stay, because I wager he has a bit of dough in his pocket, unlike you pair of mugs. And seeing as you two are empty, you can clear off out of it before I bounce you out.
What a jip.
Oh, that's a shame. See you later, lads. Ta.
Well, I guess that's the end of this episode. Nick and I will see you next time. And Nick, watch where you're treading on that doorstep.
Oh, no.
Oh, man, you've mashed it all into the treads of those flashy trainers. See you around, Gaz. Have a good night.
Bye, chaps. I hope this evening down the pub has been some help.